This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I was just thinking of a comparison. During COVID, we would wear a mask, and that would protect us from viruses and germs and things around us. Now, let's think about what's protecting all of us from negative energy. What are we doing about that? And it's everywhere. And I'm not talking about that friend, the negative Nancy that calls you up and she's just negative all the time, although it's a good chance there's a lot of bad energy going on over there. Where's your protection? What do you got going on there? We're going to talk about psychic protection today with somebody that very deeply studies this, practices it, helps people move their lives forward, transform in many ways with hypnotherapy, spiritual rituals, if you will, Reiki, and all of that. Adrianne Smith is back with us. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. How about yourself?
I like to think I'm protected, but I don't really know if I am.
Well, wouldn't we all like to think that? Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things we can do to ensure that we are protected. And, so some of the reasons why we might want to be protected is, like you said, there's a lot of negativity out there. And whether it's, negative Nancy calling you up to rag on you about whatever she chooses that day, or whether it's, other energies out there that may be negative. It could be something as simple as walking past an abandoned house where something really awful happened and feeling those kind of like negative vibrations, or picking up an object. Everyone has some degree of sensitivity to these things. Some of us have kind of honed it more than others, and some just kind of naturally have it. Other people have kind of suppressed it. But whatever it is, we are all somewhat susceptible to it to some degree. And, some of us can do, like, one of the things I discovered from a young age is psychometry, which is where you read or feel the impressions left on a particular object. So, whether it's going to a historic building and touching the doorknob and getting an impression of someone who opened that door and maybe 100 years ago, these kinds of things do happen. And so if there are some of us who can pick up on that consciously and be aware of these energies, think about all the things that we unconsciously come in contact with. And your analogy of, wearing a mask to protect ourselves from germs and things like this is pretty appropriate, because a lot of times, we don't think, like, we'll think about spiritual hygiene. If we touch a cruddy doorknob, we're like, ooh, maybe I should wash my hands. We don't stop to think about the spiritual layer of our hygiene and our protection, right?
Mm. When we
Yeah.
first started talking about this, I was thinking more of the people around you and the
hmm
energy that they're putting out there,
And that's a
or
big part too.
taking your energy. Some known as energy vampires. They just, they see what you've got
Yes.
and like they're taking it. You don't even know they're doing it. Maybe they don't even know they're doing it, but they want your good energy. I didn't even consider all the other stuff. Not that it wasn't on my radar, and I got questions. Going to get to that in a minute, but I didn't even factor that in about stuff
hmm
that is around us from other people, other situations. So let's look at that. We'll get to the people part in a sec, but let's look at that. So
Right.
you buy a used car.
hmm
You are in a relationship that ended. You have some of the items, some of the furniture. It's got to be negative energy potentially attached to a lot of those things, would you say?
hmm Absolutely. Absolutely. In the case of buying a used car, for example, I bought a used car about a year ago and loved it. Absolutely amazing, wonderful vehicle. I love it. It's my favorite. And when I got in the car, I kept smelling a man's cologne. And I didn't always smell it. And I'm like checking the seatbelt, like, is it like ingrained in the seatbelt or something? No, no. It was just something that was kind of an ambient thing that I would smell once in a while in the car. And I do that too. That's one of my clairs is the clairsalience where I can actually smell things psychically, which is a weird one. But
Hmm.
anyway, I don't talk about that one a whole lot. People tend to go, what? But I there is that kind of thing. There's a lingering residue energetically from anytime there is some kind of emotion or strong attachment to a particular object. Say, for example, you use the example of leaving a relationship and having items attached to that person, right? Maybe it's something that they gifted you. Maybe it's a wedding ring or, whatever it is. There's obviously a lot of emotion tied up in that and a connection. Like, someone may have gifted you something. And let's say, for example, this happens from time to time. I've seen this happen before where someone gives you something that there's a lot of their own energy attached to it, and they maybe don't have the purest of intentions when they give it to you. And that energy can be very tied to that object. So anytime you encounter or handle that object, you're kind of keeping that psychic tether going, that connection, that tie, if you will. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it can be helpful to cleanse those items in also to cleanse and protect yourself, or just get rid of the item altogether if it's a very strong pull. So there's a lot of different ways that we can go about protecting our own energy from being affected by negativity, or as you said earlier with the psychic vampires, people do that kind of stuff even unconsciously. Some people sadly do it intentionally, but most people that do it, I would say, are doing it unconsciously and unintentionally. But protecting ourselves from whatever it is that is seeking to assail our own energy field for whatever purpose, whether it's to draw energy from us or simply infuse us with negativity, whether consciously or unconsciously,
Hmm.
whether a person or something in our environment. It's very helpful just to kind of have that energetic boundary in place. Like, you want to, all these social media psychiatrists want to say, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, because some of them are absolutely spot on. But it's very trendy now to talk about boundaries, right? Like, oh no, you have to establish good boundaries with these people who are toxic and who are, a negative influence on your life. But while establishing boundaries in the 3D is wonderful and absolutely necessary, you also have to establish those boundaries in the spiritual and astral realms as well, energetically. And so being able to do that and being able to shield yourself from this like constant barrage of negative energy that we are exposed to on a daily basis, it really helps us to maintain our own authentic energy in a good way, like and keep our highest vibration possible.
So for anybody that thinks this is a little woo here, what they got going on, I
You got
just
the
look,
woo warning.
here it comes. I just look at face value of things that present, and then I just take it all in, and then I piece it all together. So with the energy thing, and you talk about, used vehicle, reminded me of my Jeep. And I have this like 25-year-old Jeep. It's just like my junkie vehicle. I use it to kayak. It's rusting away. I say it's in hospice. It's just, but I love it because I don't have to worry about it or lock it and driving it. I feel like a kid, like when I was a teenager and all of that. So it would break down. I'd be driving along, serpentine belt, beam pops. I'm like, I'm like pulling over the side. I'm like, you piece of junk. You like, seriously? I got to get it towed. And then was another time it broke down. I'd be like, yelling at it. Got it fixed. And then I would treat it with positivity, positive energy. We would go out together. We would go kayaking. And I said, we had a good day. I appreciate that. You got me there. I know it's a little challenging. You're older, like a senior. Like, I get you. I'm going to, put better gas in occasionally and all that. It's been running great. Never had a problem with it. I could be sitting for weeks, start it right up. It's all good to go. I truly believe since I was positive, but push positive energy into it, it's giving it right back to me. I don't think
Absolutely.
I don't doubt it for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that that's one of the things, I think we've touched on things like manifestation before and stuff like this. And I think that's one of the things that is kind of a universal truth where whatever energy you put out is exactly what you're going to receive back.
But it doesn't have to be with just people, as I've learned.
No, it doesn't. It can be with everything, whether
Hmm.
it's, a vehicle or an animal, a person, or just your environment, your house, even. The house can be something similar as the vehicle, where, it's like, oh, this house is just such a piece of junk. I can't stand living here, blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, oh, your house is going to be pretty mad and it's not going to like it. And there's going to be all kinds of things that go wrong. Maybe, your boiler, blows out and floods or, whatever happens, right?
100%.
So, but if you go, "Ah, I'm home. I love my house. This is such a cool house. It's amazing. Yep, maybe she's an old girl, but she's doing good. She's got good bones, then the house is going to treat you well. So, and it's the same thing with people. It's the same thing with animals. It's just, because everything is connected. Everything kind of has its own spiritual essence, even if it's an inanimate object and that's the essence that you put on it.
100%. So while we're on objects, let's put people aside for a moment. Let's say you bought that used car, you have furniture left over from an ex didn't go well. What do you do to cleanse it? What do you do to
Mm,
ensure that you're wiping the slate clean, or can you? Some have told me that even those
absolutely.
those those belongings from a previous relationship, that it's best to get rid of them. But let's just face it, if you got an expensive bed or whatever it is, it's not really that practical. So how can we
Mhm.
energetically cleanse things as much as possible?
Oh, there's a lot of different techniques to use. And it's really, comes down to what you are personally more comfortable with, what aligns with your own sense of spirituality, how you personally interact with that energy. So, like I can give you step-by-step instructions on how I do it, and it might not resonate for everyone, right? But, it just depends like what your mental framework is for that type of thing. A lot of people choose to pray and to
Hmm.
invoke, whatever deity, whatever God they feel comfortable invoking in order to help cleanse that.
Hmm.
Um, I like to do smudging. I follow more of the Native American pagan type of rituals with that kind of stuff myself, but I am all over the place. I believe in a big variety of things. So I kind of
What is
incorporate
smudge
everything.
smudging? I've heard the term before.
Yeah.
I've saged. I have a stick of sage right in the
Hmm.
other room.
Yep.
I've got, I could, if I can reach over here, I have Palo Santo spray, which is,
Yeah.
I got it from an herbalist. It is the real deal. It's
That's
not,
good stuff.
Bath and Body Works or whatever they call it, where it's, it smells like
Right.
it. But then again, I also wonder, is it the intention you put in? But
Yes.
okay.
Yes. And that's exactly what I was going to get to because it doesn't really matter which technique you use as long as you're doing it with the proper intention.
So
So,
wait a minute. So wait a minute. Instead of, all this stuff, sage, Palo Santo, and all that, could I spray Windex? And my intention is to clean. I'm cleaning the
I
energy
mean, I
around
wouldn't
here.
spray Windex on your bed. That might not be a real pleasant experience, but just personally.
Yay.
But yeah, I mean, basically, anything that you do, you can do it just energetically with yourself, with just your own energy. Just kind of wave your hands over it and just have the very specific, very powerful, grounded intention to cleanse this of whatever negative energies are attached to it. There's again, like I've studied so many different types of spirituality and different religions and things like this. There's a saying in Wicca, which, I've heard before, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. It says the power is in the witch. And I think that that kind of holds true for all of us, and I know a lot of people have like red flags going off when they hear that word, but it's really, just if you take the message of it to mean that the power is within us. And, that's something that even Jesus was preaching, essentially, that we truly have the power to do these things. And the rest of it, the sage, the Palo Santo spray, the crystals, all of that is a tool that can help us focus our intention. And, in the case of things like sage and Palo Santo, they do have a physical effect on the environment. Like, for example, smudging with sage can kill airborne bacteria for up to 7 days after you do it. And so that is a very real, very tangible
Wow.
cleansing of the environment that you are performing when you do this smudging. So it's not just the energetic intent, there's also, that physical layer of, yes, this sage is actually cleansing the air. It's actually cleansing any kind of like airborne pathogens.
I
And so,
never heard that. And
yeah.
I open myself up to learning as much as I can about this stuff. Um, whoa. So smudging is just another word for if somebody takes a stick of sage and goes around a
Mhm.
room, that's smudging.
That's smudging. And so
Okay.
when you smudge, when you light the sage and kind of put out the flame once it's going, let the smoke kind of start flowing, I guess. And then you work your way around the room, smudging everything, kind of a lot of people like to use like a feather fan. I like to use a feather fan because I feel like it helps to really get the smoke into all the little
Come on.
nooks and
Come
crannies of
on,
the
Adrianne.
room.
You're on a farm. You got those.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
rest of
I
us, we
got
don't
all
have,
kinds of
we don't have feathers laying around. I'm lucky I have a stick of sage.
right,
Which you know
right.
what? I don't because I lent it out. I'm not kidding.
Oh,
2 weeks ago I gave it to
but
somebody.
the Palo Santo spray is also just as effective. And there's sage sprays, there's smokeless smudge, is
Yeah, yeah.
basically what I call it. Because some people, may have some respiratory issues and things where they can't tolerate the smoke, but the spray is totally fine.
I
And
remember
so,
2 years ago. I was saging at home, and my daughter comes running. So I was, something's on fire. Something's on fire. I'm like, no. Let me explain this to you. Like I get me to look like. Why are you walking around with some weeds that are smoking? And you're going from closet to closet. What is the difference between sage and Palo Santo? I heard Palo Santo brings in good energy, sage gets rid of bad energy. I don't know if that's true.
So there are some subtle differences between the two. They're both used for cleansing.
Hmm.
Sweetgrass is one, that's a third that I like to smudge with after the sage or Palo Santo because the sweetgrass really does bring in those loving, pure, positive energies. Palo Santo is kind of a bit of both, where it kind of kicks out the bad energies and provides a layer of protection while inviting in the good energies. Sage kind of does both as well, although a lot of people do traditionally use it for simply, banishing the negative. Um, but there's, it's a sacred herb. They're all sacred plants in some form or another. They all have their own specific medicine that is utilized. And you don't necessarily have to know exactly what all of that medicine is. But if you want to, sometimes it's fun to sit down and, sit with that plant and just hold a piece of it in your hands and just try and feel if it, has a certain energy that you can pick up on. You can do the same thing with crystals and stuff like that too, and then kind of discern for yourself, like which feels better to use. Like, oh, do I want to use sage today? Or do I want to use Palo Santo today? Do I want to use juniper or cedar? Cedar is another one that's very sacred. We use that a lot in Lakota ceremony. And that's a very powerful purifier as well. And it's said that the Wakinyan, the thunder beings, will not strike a sage, or excuse me, a cedar tree with lightning. So cedar is considered sacred for the thunder beings.
I'm gonna do a little research on that.
Yeah, just
Actually,
fun
I
little
like
random
that's funny.
facts. I'm full of those.
Before we run out of time, let's go to people with negative energy. You
Mhm.
identify somebody in your life, they're just negative, you feel it. Maybe it's not practical to eliminate them. You try and push them off to the side as much as possible, or maybe you've been in the presence of them and you just want to cleanse the energy that's been left.
Mhm.
What do we do?
Well, first of all, the easiest thing to do is to smudge yourself. I've seen memes, when I think about you, I smudge myself, that's it's definitely a thing that's an easy way to cleanse yourself of unwanted energies. Another good way to do it is, if you I actually have a video on my Facebook page that details kind of a basic daily cleansing and balancing and protection meditation that you can do,
Oh, wow.
where you ask your spirit guides to help you cleanse and balance all of your chakras, and then provide you with the best divine auric protection for this day. And if you
Huh.
wish, you can call upon your guides, you can call upon angels, whatever feels right to you, and just sort of having that intent. And I do this every morning before I get out of bed. I just sit up and I kind of, do this cleansing, balancing, and protection meditation.
Wow.
And it really helps to go through your day and feel just a lot more balanced, a lot more even keeled, and it's a real game changer. And if you are in the presence of someone or going to be in the presence of someone that is kind of negative, or you start picking up on a vibe that you're like, ooh, this person's, let's keep them over here, you can just mentally call upon that same divine auric protection
Wow.
immediately, and just think of it and be like, like guides, angels, please protect me. Please give me the best auric protection so I can, deal with this situation. And it's just a really nice and easy way and you can do it anywhere. You could do it sitting in your chair at work. You can do it walking down the street. No one has to know what you're doing, because you can do it all just mentally in your mind, and just set that intention that, hey, nope, I am protected. My boundary is here. I have, nothing's going to be bothering me. And it helps so much to not pick up those negative energies. Sometimes, of course, you deal with situations that are challenging, but it does make it so much easier.
I've heard that putting the right intention into it, even taking a shower and thinking of the water energetically cleansing you, can also get it done as
Mhm.
well.
Absolutely. And sea salt scrubs. Salt is also another big purifier.
Yes. Yeah.
You can use sea salt scrubs in the shower. You can throw a pinch of sea salt in your laundry to get all that out of your clothes. And just, you can spray whatever you want to do. There's a lot of different ways to do it.
It's funny how journeys go. I was just thinking as we're talking, I didn't really know a lot about energy or anything like that, but I marketed an energy drink back in 2008. And
Okay.
it was all based on good energy. We would call it. This drink is for good energy. I never made these connections until now about that. And it was like, we were selling good energy. That was the whole, and it had a different, the bottle was different when you twist the cap and infused it with the flavor and everything. But um,
Ah.
I was dealing with it back then, didn't even know I was dealing with it. It's amazing when you start intentionally looking at what's around in your life and how it's reacting, like my Jeep or people that are negative, and you're just feeling it. If you really take a look at what's going on there, you really see what's happening in our world connected to
Mhm.
energy, but you got to realize it. And then certainly you work with energy, helping people with Reiki, energy healing, certainly hypnotherapy. What's the best way to connect with you? People have questions. I know I'm just kind of get a little deep sometimes. How do they find you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we could probably go on for hours, but
Right?
so best way to get a hold of me, I'm on Facebook at Wild Heart Healing. And if you're interested in the chakra balancing and cleansing and protection meditation video, that is on there. And then my website is wildhearthealingco.com.
I'm going to go all the way to Colorado just to get a feather.
I love it. I
Th-
have
Thank,
lots.
thank you for all the tips today and all the insight, Adrienne. You're great at what you do, and I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Likewise. We'll be right
Have a
back.
good one.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.